I'm Aaron Mehta, Editor-in-Chief of Breaking Defense, and I'm joined by, well, no one today. The rest of the team's busy covering the Sea Air Space conference here in National Harbor, so I'm going to do kind of, for lack of a better term, a little bit of a vibe check on the show as we wrap things up here on day 3. I think one of the first big takeaways is that often at these kind of conferences, the leadership comes with a big message, a big piece of news they're trying to spread out. We didn't really get much of that this year. The biggest news really came last week when the Secretary of the Navy dropped a review that laid out a number of major delays, 1 to 3 years in most cases, for major shipbuilding programs. After that, there just wasn't a lot of talk here about the shipbuilding programs. There was some reporting that the Navy actually said, we don't want you talking about these programs now that these delays are out there. That was certainly reflected in the level of news that we saw from Navy leadership. That said, it doesn't mean that it was a show without any news at all. There was some interesting information we learned about the price tag of $50 million, give or take, for the Navy's CCA program, the drones that'll fly with their next-gen aircraft. We also, obviously, industry is here, and industry was happy to talk about what they're up to. One big theme that I think we saw kind of reflected on the show floor is the interest, and certainly broad interest, I would say, in undersea drones, UUVs. A lot of companies brought their version of a UUV out. A lot of them were kind of marketing this as their featured technology here at the show. Before the conference, I talked with Fincantieri's CEO, and he said he views this market as $400 billion by 2030. About $100 billion of that he views as defense specific. That certainly was the vibe when you walked the show floor here. Another aspect on the show floor was the sense of AUKUS is a big deal. You saw that with a couple of hearings here, focused on the trilateral agreement between the US, UK, and Australia. Obviously, the pillar one of that, the big focus, is the nuclear submarine program, the SSN AUKUS. But there's this pillar 2, and that's where a lot of companies are hoping to cash in on. So you saw a lot of companies saying, hey, we fall under AUKUS, we think we hit pillar 2 capabilities. What exactly pillar 2 is one of those questions. It seems like there's still a little confusion about whether it's a country has to formally join AUKUS, or it's just, hey, we're working with the AUKUS nations on this kind of technology. But that's something that certainly industry and leadership here in several panels were very focused on and talking about. There's also just an interesting tidbit. There just weren't a lot of uniformed personnel on the show floor or even walking around at this conference. Usually you see a lot of, again, members of the military in uniform kind of taking things in. A couple of people pulled me aside and said, hey, why are there no people in uniform? What's going on here? Certainly high-level people touring the show floor. We saw SecNav touring the show floor yesterday on Tuesday. But at the end of the day, just not a lot of people in uniform. Just an interesting little tidbit there. So overall, a major show. This is for the Navy's biggest show of the year. It's certainly an important one for the defense industry as well. I think you saw that reflected in the big attendance on the show floor. I did see one very brave soul walking around in just a Army t-shirt, which I thought was really the definition of a power move. That's basically going to wrap up our coverage of Sea Air Space. As I speak right now, members of our team are still writing up panels. In fact, Justin Katz, our Navy reporter, is actually moderating a panel right now. But this is kind of the end of the show. We thank you for watching. We're going to have a lot more stories coming up on Breaking Defense, a number of pieces that will keep going out throughout the week, so please keep checking that out. And until then, we'll see you next year at Sea Air Space.